Welcome to day one of 4 days of Etsy Christmas. I am so excited because we're kicking things off with one of my favorite conversations of the entire year, Etsy Wrap 2025, and what actually sold this Christmas. And stick with me because we're also revealing which of these trends aren't stopping here. They're already showing signs of rolling into 2026. I'm joined by some incredible Etsy sellers and creators, Heather X Studio, Jenny from the shop, and Cassiy Johnson. Let's dive into Etsy Wrap 2025. What stood out to you all in 2025 on the Etsy platform?
I would say embroidery. I know we talked about embroidery maybe last year when I've done some interviews with some of you. Embroidery is definitely one that stood out. I think it's one of those long-term products. And Cassiy, you're like the embroidery queen. I think you made a video about the sweatshirt you're wearing. Yeah, the Christmas trees. So I'd say embroidery, which is kind of a surprise because I think that's just what a lot of people like and the trend we're seeing.
For me, I noticed, and it's nothing new, but personalization was bigger than ever. I noticed in general for Etsy sellers, I don't know if Etsy's pushing it or there's more sellers offering personalization, but that was huge for me and other sellers in 2025.
Something I noticed was a lot more multi-item listings this year. So a lot of the top listings either had like 3 different designs of an ornament, 3 types of phone cases, or shirts, sweatshirts, and kids shirts all in the same listing. It's just more and more of like the top listings that I saw this year don't just have one product. They have multiple different variations so people can kind of shop that listing instead of going and shopping other listings. I think just more and more, we're probably going to keep seeing that in 2026.
Absolutely. I definitely noticed that personalization, like you mentioned, Jenny, was such a big driver for the top sales and top products on Etsy this year. I'm sure you heard about how a lot of Etsy's traffic is being driven ChatGPT. And that's one of the things that it asks whenever you're like looking for a gift is, do you want it to be personalized? AI is driving traffic to Etsy in a way that like is very surprising and going to continue into 2026. But whenever I was using Etsy research tools like Etsy Radar or Everbee, I definitely noticed, because you can sort and look to see if it's personalized or not personalized, like 80 to 90% of the top sellers were personalized. So it's definitely a big driving force for sure. Okay, so next segment, Q4 and Christmas. This year was pretty wild. Were there certain products that you noticed that took off that you were surprised about, that were unexpected?
Something that I've seen selling a lot more in Q4 of 2025 than I ever expected is ring dishes. It's like a little dish you can put your rings in, which Printify does not have yet. But I'm going to ask them if they can find one because I've been seeing listing after listing taking off with ring dishes. I would love to get my hands on one because I can't get away from them. I don't know if it's because I clicked on one and now Etsy thinks I love ring dishes. The custom little photos or custom drawings, I've been seeing them all over the place. I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, they're really popular for bachelorette gifts, custom personalized bachelorette gifts. And you know, Printify has the catalog where it's the early access catalog. A lot of those products are from ideas from customers or content creators. Whenever I was a Printify mentor, they would message us and say, hey, do you have any ideas for new products that you would like to see introduced to the catalog? So definitely share your ideas. If you notice a product that's doing really well, that would lend itself well to print demand, don't be afraid to share that and ask about that because they do take those suggestions seriously.
Yeah, every year there's more and more products on Printify. And like when you mentioned that, Cass, about the ring holder, they do have the jewelry box holders. They're pretty cool. They're the travel ones. I actually have one myself from like years ago. They sell similar ones where, you know, it's like a little square and you open it and you can put in your rings and some jewelry when you travel. You know, I have to double check what it is in Printify, but somehow you can personalize it. I don't know if it's embroidered or how they do that.
Fun fact, I was a bridesmaid in Heather's wedding. And she got me a travel jewelry case with my name on it as a gift. I can personally attest to how cute those are and what a good gift it is.
Perfect.
The bachelorette niche is still fire, like still fire niche.
And I think one thing that you got me thinking on about a big surprise for 2025 that's been selling, wraparound design mugs. I've been shocked this year because I just always, when I've been designing, I just always feel like wraparound is a no-no for mugs. But people really like them. They've been buying them. And I look at customer reviews of some bestsellers, and it's all really positive reviews, even though it doesn't go to the mug handle. I think that's been surprising too to see is the stained glass effect is big for wraparound mugs. Pet niche, I'm seeing dog doodle wraparound mugs. So just very surprising in total.
Another wraparound mug trend is the hidden saying or funny quote within a design. Have you guys seen those? They're pretty funny. They'll put sarcastic things within a hidden design, but it's typically a wraparound mug.
I've seen that one. And the other one is like the 3D ones, which I would have thought that people wouldn't like that effect. But I think people understand that it's not real. I think most people understand that it's a 2D thing. A lot of a 3D effect looks like carved into it or like something popping out of it. I've seen a ton of those this year.
I've seen that go viral and be really popular with ornaments this year, especially the custom cut ornaments. And that was huge with the 3D effect on the ornaments. But yeah, the 3D effect is, I think, going to remain popular in 2026.
One thing I saw a lot of bad reviews on this year on ornaments is the fake 3D ornaments with like sea glass. It like looks like it's 3D sea glass. And I saw a bunch of listings with some 1-star reviews. I think sometimes you have to be careful with that and make sure it's obvious that it's not really 3D, because if people think it's going to come 3D and it's not, then they're not going to be very happy with it.
Yeah, that and glitter, like fake glitter. Make sure you put that in your descriptions that it's not real, that people aren't getting an ornament with real glitter on it. It might look like it, but it's maybe a printed design, and then the customer gets it and they're upset that it's not real glitter. So just something to keep in mind with that too.
I think those types of products with the faux effects, I think it's really important to have a video of the actual item. Or if you can try an AI generated video, it's getting better, but you want to make sure it's like looks what it actually looks like in person.
I would even include on the photo or faux whatever pointing to it, because people don't read the title, people don't read the description all the time. So it's like, it has to be like in the picture if you're going to do those effects. Be very careful getting into those. I think I saw someone with a bunch of bad reviews where it was like faux, what's it called? Like chenille patches, where it looks like the big patches with like the fabric around them, but it was like a faux just print of it. And they had like 20 1-star reviews. So you got to be careful with those faux things and make sure it's really obvious what they're actually going to get.
Were there any print and man products in particular that either are new or classic sellers that you just saw really take off this year?
I'd say the Just Printify introducing cutting boards and engraving. I think that's a big one to note at the end of this year, because I know in past years it's been like just a mega selling item on Etsy and like such good profit margin. So just engravable items, which I mean, technically we haven't seen a full year of since it just got introduced, but I think that's a noteworthy one on my list.
And if you didn't get a chance to try those types of products for Q4, they continue to do well for weddings, as wedding gifts, as Mother's Day gifts, as Father's Day gifts. So don't feel like you guys have missed the boat if you didn't try that product this year.
For me, I was going to say blankets. I actually have one on me right now. It's a Printify woven blanket, and these are selling like crazy, and you can get a really good profit margin selling these. Here's my little example. But yeah, they're really nice, and they're warm. It keeps me warm. So this product is huge,
especially.
I do. Thank you. I have one showing how to make these and the types of niches that they're selling well in. Personalization is huge with these as well. If you pair it with personalization, it's the perfect match.
I was actually going to say blankets too. That was the product. I've seen so many, like I was just looking at one that sold like 117 times in the last 24 hours, a custom blanket. There's a couple listings. I saw one that has sold 300 times today. You got to love Q4. But I actually bought a bunch of people those woven blankets as Christmas presents last year. And so I can definitely attest to how gorgeous they look, and people love getting them as gifts.
And it's crazy. Just to add on to the woven blankets, wasn't it a product released in 2024? I think it was released for Printify in 2024. And I remember it was super hyped then. Over time, like this year, we're seeing the rev up in woven blankets. I've been like, this is awesome. This is cool that it's finally picking up traction and being noticed on Etsy. So that's all I wanted to add on that.
And blankets do really well for Mother's Day. Custom blankets, fire.
Yeah, really anything that it can be given as a gift. It's huge because it's actually like it truly is really good quality. But I think the price point, especially within Printify, is decent enough to where we don't have to make it super expensive for buyers to purchase. So they're getting a really good quality blanket for a decent price. You could raise your price even higher. Some are selling for $67 and you could get a great profit margin from that. It's a great product to sell and also a great product for somebody to purchase.
So before we jump into the trends breakdown that we'll be doing next, we're going to do a quick quiz. I want you ladies to guess and tell me what you think in the chat. What do you think were the top 4 aesthetics? So trending aesthetics searched in 2025. So this is like across platforms like Google Trends, on Amazon, on Etsy. So just anything, any kind of aesthetic trend that you could think of that you think would have been one of the top ones. So top 4, let me know in the chat.
I'll put it in the chat.
All right, so I'm seeing Beaucore. Awesome. From Heather, Dark Academia, Dark Cottagecore, Y2K.
Cassiy, I totally forgot about.
Cassiy.
Oh, man.
Let's see, Coquette, Toile. Am I saying it right?
Jenny put coquette, or is it coquette or coquet?
Pet, Silly Goose,
Cottagecore.
Cottagecore, and the paintbrush stroke that was a trend.
Yeah, it was really popular in the spring leading up to summer. And then once Halloween hit, I feel like it kind of like faded out.
I just thought of another one, stripes.
Oh.
Classic.
Okay, so here were the actual top search 2025 trends across platforms. And once again, these are like really broad macro trends. Y2K core, Y2K, kid core, and early 2000 nostalgia, huge. I saw that for pretty much all of the holidays this year. Soft core, so this is like cottage core, bow core, things like that. Tech core, this is more like neon. This is more like streetwear for men, things like that. And just like technology in general really boomed this year. And then prep core. Coquette falls under prep core. Prep core university fonts were really popular this year and were really highly searched. Were any of those surprising to you guys?
Tech core was a little surprising. I don't necessarily design for men quite as much. I feel like on Etsy, it's so women centered. So that makes sense. There's some stuff for guys somewhere on the internet.
Absolutely. But what I noticed this year, demographic wise, millennials were more into the nostalgia. A lot of trends were driven by the news cycle, but for Gen Z, it was more social media trends. Do you guys agree with that? The 6-7 trend was kind of a social media driven trend. So I'll be curious to see if that continues. That's definitely what I noticed.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like social media drives a lot of the trends, or at least it's a good percentage of people coming from social media or learning about a trend on social media. At least that's where I learn about a lot of trends.
Since we sell a lot of apparel, a lot of times it would follow more of the fashion trends. And some of them we did see in 2025. The fisherman core was predicted to be really big for apparel in 2025. And in the beginning of the year, I was curious how that was going to trickle in because they were talking about stripes and patterns, but we did see a lot of lobsters and a lot of things like that that did fall within that fisherman core kind of style. But I feel like a lot of times it is more like memes and stuff that's popular on the internet more than what's normally popular in the fashion world.
A lot of that really can inspire your designs. So especially if you're designing for a specific audience, really pay attention to those memes. Make sure they're not trademarked, but you can definitely draw on those for inspiration for your designs for a specific audience. All right, before we wrap up day 1, which Christmas trends do you think will carry into 2026 and have like the most staying power?
I think the Y2K for certain. I feel like the nostalgic thousands era is just coming back, like you said about millennials. I think weird core as well with the frogs, and it almost goes into the bookish and book core niches. I think the book world and romance fantasy has also been, at least from what I've seen, pretty strong. Phone cases like that I've been working with some sellers on, and even in my own shop, it's been really surprising, but I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. But I feel like that's just my kind of smaller world opinion on in the phone case area.
Yeah, I think phone cases are just going to continue to do really well and trend. And it's constantly needing phone cases. So I think that that's a product that is going to continue to sell well.
Speaking of phone cases and pairing it with a trend, I could see still going into early 2026. I don't know yet how long this trend is going to go. I don't know if it's going to stay strong, but I still see it like going into 2026, like the beginning months, is the stained glass designs. And I've seen those on cell phone cases doing really well. Christmas ornaments, they're doing really well. I don't think Christmas ornaments will really continue too much in the beginning of 2026, but I could see the stained glass designs doing really well on cell phone cases.
So that's the end of day 1. And trust me, you do not want to miss day 2. We're revealing the 2026 Etsy trends and predictions that will define the entire year. To those of you watching right now, which Christmas trend do you think will carry into 2026? Comment below.
Like, it is so hard to get a listing to sell even 500 times, let alone 7,500 times.
Remembering that people search differently on ChatGPT than they would on Etsy. So you go to Etsy, you type in gift for kids. And with ChatGPT, it's gift for a 7-year-old boy who likes dinosaurs.